All right, so we've talked about the taxable brokerage. Now, let's switch over to talk about retirement accounts, because this is what gets a lot of the fodder in the fire and find community. People say, hey, I want to take advantage of this. I want to build up my retirement accounts, but if I'm going to retire early, how do I go about using them? And there are simple ways like 457s or like military pensions that might be a great option for you to retire early, but they might not, those types of accounts or those types of benefits might not be available to you. But there are still ways that you can retire before age 59 and a half. And the first of which you've heard us talk a lot about. This one is one that's really, really exciting. And again, it's accessible not to everyone, but to most people. And that's the rule of 55.
Yeah, the rule of 55, fortunately, the first account that hits 7 figures is the 401k for most people. So this is a good thing, especially with the rule of 55, is because what this rule allows is if the year you hit 55, so you can actually be 54 years of age when this happens, but the year that you retire, you break service from your employer that has the 401k, if you're turning 55 that year, you actually get penalty-free access to those retirement assets.
Now, you're still going to pay income tax on it, but it wipes away the 10% penalty. But it has to be with the 401k that you are currently employed at your current employer. So it's not like you can leave one employer at age 50 and go work somewhere else and then try to pull from that old 401k unless you've rolled it in. So your account structure matters. If you want to take advantage of the rule of 55, you need to recognize that your bridge assets, the dollars that you're going to use to get you from age 55 to age 59 and a half, need to be in your current employer's 401k plan. So if you have a bunch of old 401k plans that you've left behind at old providers, you might want to consolidate those before you actually retire so that you can get access to those dollars.
Yeah, so look, this rule of 55 is powerful. We've used this with a number of clients. You just said something that was very key. If you know that you're retiring in a few years and you know you'll be in that year that you hit 55, because that's a nice halo. It's like playing horseshoes with your retirement, is that why not roll a little bit of money in there? Or how about this? Maybe you are leaving this employer. You don't have to leave everything in that 401k. You just might need to leave enough so that you actually get to maximize this rule of 55 until you reach 59 and a half. And maybe you roll out some of the other assets because you want to have other opportunities or different custodians. There's all kind of reasons why that might come into play.
And then the other thing you need to recognize is that while Roth 401ks can be subject to the rule of 55, you'll be taxed on the gains if you try to pull money out before 59 and a half. So generally speaking, rule of 55 is much more advantageous for pre-tax traditional 401ks and retirement accounts as opposed to Roth. Because really for the Roth, we really want it to be tax-free. So we don't want that gain to be taxable income. So you're going to try not to pull out of those, certainly not the earnings portion of those, before 59 and a half. So let's talk about, when it comes to rule of 55, what are some pros and cons? Well, the first pro, it's pretty simple. You don't have to have like an advanced degree in finances to understand, okay, in the year I turn 55, current 401k, I can start pulling money out, no penalty, still pay ordinary income tax.
Well, you're going to hear in a minute. We have other rules where you have to do all these calculations, you have to annuitize. All. This is simple. I like if you are in the year that you're turning 55 at this employer, you qualify to get this penalty-free access to these retirement assets. I love that. And what I like is not only is it simple, you get immediate access to the entire and full account balance. That's
exactly
powerful.
Right. You don't have to have some special part of it chiseled off. And then the other benefit is it's tax advantaged if your tax bracket will decrease in retirement. Meaning, if you were saving in the pre-tax during a higher income stage of your life, and then when you get into retirement and your income drops in your lower tax bracket, then this will have been a positive arbitrage for you. You would have gotten a bigger tax deduction earlier in life, and you're going to pay less taxes now. That's a benefit. But again, even the rule of 55 is not perfect. There are some negatives. There are some cons associated with it.
Yeah, first you got to do your research. Make sure that your plan actually even allows this. When the plan was designed, this is something that your employer had to choose to allow this for it even to be available to you.
The other thing is that it's limited to your current 401k. So again, if you have old 401ks, old historic accounts, you don't get access to those. It's only the 401k at the employer you're working with when you retire in the year that you turn 55. So you have to make sure that you consolidate accounts and it's in the around account structure.
And don't forget to do the work to figure out what is the year that you actually turn 55, because that's what you have to be in that year, because This would break my heart if you're planning on going into this fire/fine movement where you're going to the next endeavor of life. You want to own your time that much sooner, and you do this at 53. You're going to have a sad awakening that you might have had a huge opportunity to get access to money penalty free, but you just chose the wrong time.
Missed the mark by touch.
So pay attention to the dates. Remember at the beginning of this, I said, write down how far away you are from age 55 and how far you are from 59 and a half, especially if you have Roth assets. These are key important dates that you need to understand and hit it right so that you don't make a bad mistake that costs you taxes and penalties. And you just need to make sure you measure twice, cut once.